Okay. Good morning, guys. I apologize for our YouTube viewers. We're already running. We already started. I did not realize I did not get the meeting going. Just really quick, past performance is not indicative of future results, and you can lose a substantial amount of money. Trading futures, please, please, please have a trade plan available to you so that you can control risk. And if you're losing money consistently, stop trading, period, until you get your paper trading down, and then see if you can convert it to money trading. By the way, one last piece, right? If you're making money paper trading and you're losing money real money trading, that tells you where your psychological issues are. We can go work on those and fix that problem. It's actually quite helpful. So all I was saying was this morning, we're building energy through here. That's what all this balance is. And today, what you want to know primarily as a trader, are we driving out of this range, right, and pushing out and going to have a trend day up, or are we going to sit here and chop through the middle? If we're chopping through the middle, the worst place to trade or initiate a trade is in the mid. You want to be on the edges for a push back in, right? So you'll be able to tell this by a couple of ways. First of all, ticks will not be an extreme, right? But that's been a little bit less helpful. Ticks will not be an extreme, right? And as we see it push down, my other indicators will basically tell me whether there's any sell pressure or push pressure on the outside of this area, or if the sell volume is just drying up as we're pushing out, and then they're going to push it right back in, right? So I'm hoping for the push back in and kind of a chop, balance, scalp through the day, because hell, it would just be easier than trying to figure out trend day up. And you know, it would really be good if we could get 20 or 30 points down on ES, but that doesn't look like it's in the cards. Realistically, 10 down finds responsive buyers because we have low energy and we're in front of quad witching. It's just unlikely that they're going to let the cat out of the bag prior to Friday, right? They're going to try and lock it down and keep it nice and tight. So why else would you do? Why would you do it any other way, right? Then keep it balanced. If you're a large institutional trader, they're going to try to keep it locked up here. Let's go do NQ really quick, and then we'll go look at the charts. NQ, Globex high, pushing highs right now, 64.3150. Just above the white zone. I think overnight that white zone held pretty nicely. We'll go look. And Globex low came in at 64.15 and a quarter. That 64.15 has become a pretty big inflection point repeatedly over the last couple of days. You'll see on Wednesday, we kept trading on both sides of it. And now yesterday. Okay. Okay, so same thing in NQ, right? We're really not building energy. NQ is just pushing hard. There's the trend line you need to see broken. There's plenty of room to the downside if we break the trend line here, but that's what you want to see gone. Again, if we get above Wednesday's high and we can break through this yellow zone. So a couple of notes on this yellow zone. If you're planning to short it, guys in the room, straight into the gate, right? If it hits in the first 15 minutes, I would wait till I see some kind of responsive sellers. We get underneath our last buyer and backside test him. I don't know that I'm all that eager to short the drive into the all-time high with NQ. The gap, right now we're trading at 64.29. Wow, my brain's just a half second slow this morning. We are trading right up against this Globex high, right? So we're gapping, but before you get too excited, it's still within range, right? So what do we want to see? We want to see a drive out of this range, get above, and not come back in, right? We want to see it come up. If we see it drive up like this, and then we consolidate or hold through here on these backside tests, then we start looking for these slow drives up and probably slow grind to the upside, right? 60 points could put us all the way up at 64.76, right? That puts us up in this territory over here. It is doable because it's within 60 points of that range, right? We've had 30 to 60 point ranges. On the downside, 30 to 60 down from the close or from where we're trading right now, right? 30 down puts us at 6,400, right? 60 down puts us at 36.70. Okay, so in this neighborhood, things that are interesting, right? So this is just below NVPOC, this 6,400. So there's not much space between where we almost tested this NVPOC, which for me makes it weaker. I'm talking about this little blue line right here. It makes it weaker. We almost tested it. And I would want to see, again, get get my biggest seller, get back above them, and then backside test them for a move, right? As opposed to just catching this in free fall. I know there's an open gap there, but there's not a lot to help us out here in my eyes, right? This NVPOC, this area right here, prime time to get a response back up, right? That's my highest odds for a response and a pushback higher. If you look from that swing low after the gap, right, you want to put this in your notebook. Where's the 50-60 retrace for that move? Because you know people are going to be hunting that 50-60 retrace, right? So here's swing low from the gap to the high, okay? And that puts us roughly, that 62 retrace puts us right in front of that NVPOC area. Again, this area is prime time to get a response and a move back up. They may take it from the 50 retrace. If they do, I'll probably have to shrug my shoulders, or I'll get an alternate tell through the course of the day and I'll be able to backside test it and take it long. If they respond off the 50, that's great. But this is the area where I'm really willing to accumulate or put on positions without waiting for us to get above the last seller. And then, so what I would do is start with a smaller size initially, and then when I get above my last seller, so if you'll visualize, right, so pretend this is my last seller right over here, right? So visualize that just happening down here. I'm buying initially, I'm getting back above, and now I'm hoping for a quick backside test into my last strongest seller and pushing up out of there, right? So I don't want to put on full size, because if I take my stop straight through, I want to have either additional power to add back here, or if I'm going to take the stop, I want the stop to be on smaller size so I still have bullets to fire through the course of the day. So that's the modification on the straight down. I'm pretty confident we'll get setups on both sides of that coin today. And so that's the story on NQ, right? Up here, if I get delta pushes or I get above my last seller and backside test, I'm willing to take the trade for continuation up. I'm less eager to short new all-time highs unless, right, the exception to that, and please have it in your notes, we trend up. We trend up, right? We break down, and this becomes my 62 retrace, and I close behind my 62 retrace, okay? Whether we pop back above it or not, that is going to be my clue that trend up is over, right? And I'm going to be looking for ways to get short for pushing back down for a failed extension and exhaustion to the upside, right? So behind the 62, I'm a little nervous, and I'm actually looking for shorts most likely. And then I'll go to my intraday charts to look for those setups, just like we did yesterday, just like we did the day before. That should work quite nicely. Hold on one second here. So make sure I'm not missing any notes. Nice job, Daniel. So let's go over and look at, there we go. Meeting's over. You're not very helpful when you do that. Let's get that refired back up. Where is my join? Oh, I know why it's over, because the computer rebooted. It's like, I don't remember killing that. It will take just a second for me to get that fixed. One second, guys, and then you'll be able to see the screens on my other computer. Sorry for the delay. Well, it's just in connecting mode. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, here we are. Other computer screen now available to us. Okay, so the first thing that you'll see, or that I'd like you to see, number one, on ES, see how we're forming that nice fat wedge on the half-hour time frame, right? So a break one way or the other is coming. I don't know which way it is. That's yesterday. Does not include the overnight. There's clearly an uptrend. This uptrend gets broken, right? So below 25.68, look for potential profit taking below. Put that in your notes, right? A substantive break below 25.68 sets us to roll lower, probably down towards 26.56 neighborhood, realistically, that'd be a 10 to 13 point rotation. And we probably find responsive buyers down there first time in that neighborhood. Okay. Let's look at NQ really quick on the bigger picture, the half-hour time frame. Again, this is an RTH look. And very simply, you can see in this, let me compact this down a little bit. You can see we're just stair-stepping it up, right, one at a time. So what does that mean? The first thing that has to be broken is we have to get below this structure right down here, which puts us in the 6390 area, right? If we don't break that, all we're doing is we've come in, we filled in most of the gap here, right? And there's not a lot to look at and go, oh, I see exactly where we're going. We have slightly lower highs up on top of that bridge, but these are new all-time highs, and we're trading above this right now, right? We're trading up at the 64.31 level right here, and it'd be quite easy to drive out of this area. So that's the look on the half-hour time frame. It's not bearish, and we really have to get below this valley right here. That valley, that 64.16 to 64.11, right, is the first line of defense, first time back. And you see they defended it last night. They defended the valley as they pushed back. That's where Globex low landed, and they're going to try to push out of that. So I would expect responsive buyers first time in. Additionally, if they completely blow that, I would expect the backside test that area to act as resistance for a test lower, and I'd want to see if there's any sell pressure on that push down. My guess is there's not going to be, because there just hasn't been on any of the other pushes. What changes that is a range expansion in the first 5 minutes, range expansion in the first 35 to 45 minutes, right? That'll give you my heads up. Open drive lower, open drive higher, right? You want to be sensitive in your checklist to a change. Don't disbelieve the change, right? If all of a sudden we see 40 points straight up or 40 points straight down, go, hey, something's changed. Again, two pieces of econ right out of the gate. I'm going to scoot that over now, and we'll go look at the profiles. Hold on one second. Let's maximize this, and now we will go over and look. As you can see, first of all, oil has a risk-off profile overnight. It's finally been rolling down. It's been making lower lows, lower highs. No shock there. It's had a huge move, right? If we go look at, that's Russell. By the way, I want to show something on Russell for my Russell traders while there's no white zones below there. Okay, so if you look at this Russell trade here really quick, I want to point this out. See how we've rolled down? Okay, so it's in an interesting place. There's the only point of control left to be tested are these areas up here, this 1556 area to 1560, and this 1549, and we have this area that needs to get filled in right here around 1544 in that neighborhood, right? But even more interesting is underneath, all the points of control have been tested. See that? Every single point of control below here has been tested. If we get underneath this value area today, underneath this 1528, there's room all the way down to 1496. There really is just nothing that you can lean on. And not only that, but all the profiles below are pretty clean. See how these are all single print profiles on the TPO here? That means when you get these areas that are really clean like this, it becomes very easy. So see back here, when we were back over here to the left, this is what the profile looked like up here. And what you would have said was, with the exception of this point of control right here, that everything behind here had been tested through this balance area, right? And this was all a big balance area. So if we get behind this, see how we squeezed right into the next area of build? We blasted right through these points of control. And what you'll see is these points of control will really spread out through here. So see how this volume point of control just got tested right here? All it left was the TPO point of control. So once you got past that, see how they try to hold the TPO point of control, and then the volume point of control, and they blasted the TPO point of control, which is pretty common, right? So the point behind that was that every point of control down to this structure over here to the left had been checked up upon, and it made it really easy to slip through. So if you go to the right and you look now, you'll notice that every point of control through here, all of them underneath this area, right, has been checked up upon. So really, you have kind of a rising, you have a rising value area, right? We're kind of shifting up, balancing. So there's nothing scary in this alone, right? Realistically, you can just make as strong an argument that if we stay above this level right here, we can just simply drive up and recheck up on 1549 or 1556, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But I will be cognizant that if I get underneath this value area, there is nothing to help me until 1496, 1492, and that can create a trend day down. I'm not calling it. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I would just look to get extensions on my shorts. If I take shorts down here, I would look for the possibility of the rollback to the downside. Conversely, an inability, right? If we open up and we consolidate above this value area, right, and we have an inability to trade above, brings up 1549. So really, maybe I'm bearish. Either side can be brought up, but the profile is very clean underneath. And picture a very clean profile with no points of control, like a sheet of ice. It'd be very easy to glide straight across it, and just, even if you wanted to stop, it's just going to keep slipping until it runs into a rough patch in the profile. And that rough patch in the profile doesn't start till 1494 below. There are rough patches on the way up to slow this thing down from shooting straight up. There really aren't on the way down. It's worth noting. Now you have to put that into your larger context of how you're going to trade the Russell to figure out your entries and exits. Okay, let's go do NQ and ES really quick. Let's see where we are. And we'll do ES since I have it right here at my fingertips. Okay, ES. If you will look, there's plenty of areas to get tested underneath. These areas should provide plenty of support. We are not bearish unless we are trading below and holding below 2670. So that shouldn't even conceive in your mind that this thing's going to roll. Now, if we come in, right, we're opening at 2670 right now, right? So if we open drive lower and we show an inability to get back above this, now you can come back and test this 2660.59, which again, that jives with the half-hour chart as an area to look for responsive buyers. You have an NVPOC and a TPO, naked TPO point of control right here. If we squeeze past that, this becomes the next logical general location, which puts us in the 52.50. That would put us on a 20-point stretch. I expect responsive buyers from, this is 10 and 20 area, responsive buyers from both of these. Again, if we slip underneath that 2670 would be the first sign that we're going to come back in and check up on areas lower. Holding above 2676, there's nothing there to stop you except exhaustion and just pushing too far out of the range, right? So you're going to have to rely on, remember, if you're shorting up here or you're going long, you're going to have to rely purely on structure because there is no volume and there is no time spent in this area, right? So you're guessing that that all the traders, which is probably accurate, right? The trader is going to respond off of patterns and intraday volume builds, right? Because that's all they're going to have to, that's all anyone has to lean on off of here, right? And also remember, the trend is generally your friend. You don't have to shoot for this push down unless you're an aggressive trader. You can look for, what are we looking for? Push down, push down, push down, get above my last swing high, which is this right here, get my 50-60 back, hopefully test a key area and get a push back to the upside. And we're looking for traders, right? So this is all background information. What are we looking for? We're looking for buyers and sellers to get displaced, right, via delta and panic out at lows and get trapped, right? So remember, we're competing. These are people who are, there's one group of traders that are dealing off a large time frame, swing traders and investors, right? And then we have day traders. And what happens as we move through the course of the day, right, is that these guys switch their emotions up as they're trading, right? So we'll use ES's chart, NQ's chart as an example, right? We open up. Everyone thinks, oh, we're gapping and going to drive higher. You suck a bunch of traders in, right? That's what has to happen. Understand, there's nothing more. No matter what technical analysis you're looking for, we are breaking down decision making by how traders are making their trading decisions. 1 second, I have to fix one of my dumbs real quick. That's a problem. There we are. Okay. So what you're doing here, right, is you're, just to be clear, right? Everyone buying up here thinks the market's going up, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't buy there unless you had to for some option strategy or something made you buy, right? But you're like, oh, there's the gap, out of range. We're going to the moon, right? Suck all these traders in, right? Suck a few more in, then we roll it all the way to the other end of the range. When we're down here, all these traders are like, oh my gosh, we're going to either go for gap fill or we're going to fall apart. Look, that's become trend day down. The gap is, the gap failed, and we're going to roll down. We trap all these traders. We drive them all up. All these guys, right? The only way to trap somebody is to make them think, hey, we're going up, right? That's the only reason to buy there, or these shorts, right? So these guys all get short. They all have to cover. Plus you throw in a new group, right? You wouldn't think everyone's so emotional, but they are. We're going to the moon. No way I'm selling. We shake those guys down, right? Then overnight, we pull them all the way back up. This is what balance looks like. It's a series of trapping traders. Where traders don't get trapped is when we end up with a trend day up. But when you look at this chart, right, when you go to a big picture, right, if we look at this chart, let me close prior day here so I'm not pulling too much data. There we go. So when you go to a big time frame, the majority of the time, what the market is doing is it's trapping traders on the edge. It's not trending, right? So momentum traders are all looking for this, right? They're all looking for this piece right here. But the majority of the time, so if you adjust and figure out where the tips of the ranges are, what you're doing is, notice when we break below those edges, that's where everyone gets emotional. See that? So you can just look at it. You just got to figure out the time frame it's working on, right? Everyone thinks it's going up. They're trapped. Everyone thinks it's going down. They're trapped. Why do I know they're trapped? See, when we backside test them, they all have to cover and push up, right? They all think it's going up. They're trapped. They all think it's going down. They're trapped. And notice that each time you're usually peaking just over a last swing high or a last swing low, which is trapping the last of your emotional traders, right? Because if you'll notice, each time we get above one of those, emotions get triggered, people jump in, and they've got to get shaken out, right? And then you're combining, so you have investors buying down here. These guys are non-emotional. They're just looking to push the market up. That's all they're doing, right? They think the market's going to swing back up. They're operating on a different time frame. Second. They're operating on a different time frame. Again, we have two pieces of econ in the first 45 minutes. So I'm not in a rush in the first 30 minutes. So I'm not in a rush to do anything. I just want to see how we open up and what the buy pressure and sell pressure looks like. And then I'll start making my trading decisions. I'm not in a rush out of the gate this morning. We're opening right in the white zone, but I just want to see how they shake it out. So understand that each time you get over a last swing high, you're going to start sucking in traders on one edge or the other who what they're doing. So realize most traders, they may say, oh, I look at all these time frames, but that's why I have half-hour charts up on my other screens, right? Because what most people are doing is they're doing this, or worse, if you're really a rookie, you're doing this, right? And you're looking at the whole world via a 1 minute time frame. I guess I shouldn't have done that. You're looking at the whole world via a 1 minute time frame, right? And they're like, oh, look at all the opportunities, and they're totally losing the big picture, right? So you want to balance. I've almost completely taken off. I used to have tick divergence on a 1 minute. I've even taken that off, right? So what have we done? This is NQ. We're below Globex high. We're opening in the white zone. We're rejecting out of the white zone. Essentially pre-market, we push into the white zone, push the Globex high and rejecting out. White zone's doing its job. It's held it overnight, right? We want to see if we end up with an open drive higher. We're not out of range, so expect open auction, right? Let's go take a quick peek at where the tick is. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to switch back to my other Delta charts. I don't really have a read one way or the other yet, so I'll just let it go for right now. If you look at ES, we're opening up inside a value area low, below the white zone. We have to get below Wednesday's low, and then we're cognizant. We get below 2670. That would be the first clue if we can't get back above that we might actually break Wednesday's low and trend down, right? So what do I want to do? I want to let the news pass and see how they're responding to it, right? I want to see how the volume's looking. I want to see how the tick is responding. We're 96. What do the internals look like, right? Let's go look at the internals. Advancers, only 1189. That argues for open auction chop. That is not a bearish open. That is not a bullish open. It's a neutral open, right? So inventory came in long overnight. How do I know that? We were opening near the highs, right? So we're probably going to shake out that inventory. Then we're probably going to push it back up. The up-down ratio, right? Advancers versus decliners is only at 0.92. Again, that's not overly bullish. Doesn't mean it can't turn into bullish. It's just not overly bullish, right? It's actually neutral to slightly bearish, right? So we know, first thing we know is we don't have to be quick to act one way or the other on that open. It's unlikely that you develop an open drive higher out of that environment. It is very likely that we grind and blend people through that first half hour. The only thing that would change that would be an open drive lower. It's unlikely to resolve into an open drive higher. It's likely to try to force people in as they try to force volume through one side or the other to swish back and forth. So now I want to see where people get overcommitted or undercommitted in the first 30 minutes, and then I'll start working backside tests after the first half hour, after the news is out of the way. I don't want to have to contend with all that wish-wash back and forth. Okay, guys, if y'all give me a minute, I'm going to refresh my coffee, and I will be right back to see what this looks like. Guys on YouTube, I'll leave the room open for the first half hour, and then I will close it down. So talk to you in just a couple of minutes. Hey guys, you can see that we right out of the gate, right? What do we have? Chop and whipsaw. They're just covering the same range over and over. NQ's traded through its white zone, traded up, rejected underneath, right? And I don't have a particular tell one way or the other at this point. I'm watching and waiting. We're back to VWAP is at 64.26 from the 24-hour chart. And I really didn't show the ratio of down to up was pretty neutral. And yes, it's a bit weaker. Again, holding underneath that value area low sets up a dangerous precedent. So the internals again, 1215 advancers doesn't argue for any kind of trend day up, and actually a push up would usually be met with responsive sellers in that environment. So I think everyone's probably on hold for the next 3 minutes and then maybe the next 15 minutes after that. And that's why that internal read's important, right? Because then you figure out I don't have to be in a rush to chase it. I know they're probably going to whipsaw back and forth, right? No one likes to get caught in a back and forth whipsaw, especially when you're trying to spend energy on getting a directional move and the internals don't support it, right? So tick doesn't support it. It's neutral. Basically, we're floating around zero, right? Not bearish, not bullish. Internals from advanced decline perspective, right? Don't support it. 1219 advancers. Look when we're strong, even in the morning, we're pushing well over 1500. Every day we're pushing well over 1500. Underneath that, this is a 15-minute chart. This is what it looks like on a 5-minute chart, right? I usually like a little bit bigger perspective. So this is what it looks like in the morning, right? We're already nailing 1500, over 1500 right out of the gate, right? You can see again, back over here, we're nailing 1500 almost right out of the gate in the first 5 minutes. So that does not argue for a push. Let me see what everyone has to say. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Ian, that's quad witching is what that is. Right, and then Bill's pointing out that the micro composite point of control since the gap up on the 8th of December for ES is 2671, which is the same as the last 2 days. So that's obviously becoming a very important area. That 2671, you can see we backside tested into 2671 as well, right? So very interesting. At this point, I'd want to see a break above or below this 5-minute bar on NQ, right? And then backside tests on either one of it. That's pretty sweeping bar, right? But it really puts me at a neutral standpoint. I got to change something here. Form chart. NQ pushing back up towards its high. And we may, you really got to consider the possibility that we may just sit here today, right? And balance out in front of the Fed day. So keep that in mind as well. Still forming a wedge in ES on a 30-minute. On this backside test, the only thing I can think of on NQ, and again, I don't have an edge here other than to say that we're at the top of the AM range and the top of the overnight range, right? You can short that 64.29 against Globex high, and I mean against the swing high, which is 64.34, right? You're gonna donate 4 points, right? There's no way around that, but it's certainly one way to look at getting risk on in a particular area. That trade's not for me, and I'm not taking it. Again, I'm waiting out the first half hour. I want to see what they're able to do. I'm looking for a specific setup where I can get above or below my strongest buyer or seller. And at this point, I don't have it. I hope to soon. Excuse me, guys. I wanted to mention something else that I thought was really important, right? Remember, you're hunting your best trading situations every day. We're not trying to figure out the puzzle of whether the market's handing us a good trading opportunity or not. The only thing I want to bring up is we are hanging out below that value area low, and it really opens us up to the downside on ES. I still don't have a position there to get one way or the other, but I would like, I mean, bulls are going to want to see us get back above 2670. There's no question in my mind. They want us back above 2670, or else they're going to have to deal with right now above, right? So if we change this picture, right, the problem is one of this, right? See how we have this whole neighborhood. This is where we spent all that time, right? All of this. Oop, we can't do it from here. All of this to this, right? That whole range. This is resistance now above, right? And if you'll notice, the first place it's been untested is this general neighborhood right over here, right? If we can't get back into this and grind through here, we're most likely coming back over here to check up on prices. And you can see how jagged this profile was. Usually we want to fill in areas. See how smooth this one is, right? See how jagged this is? It left out areas, and there's a particularly pronounced low volume area right in here, right, that wants to get most likely filled in, right? So somewhere in that neighborhood, we are likely to pull down and attempt to find responsive buyers, and then this is the naked volume point of control sitting right there. So those are all areas below that are attractive to find responsive buyers back up, right? NQ is not going anywhere in particular. ES is not going anywhere in particular. The day argues for balance being in front of quad witching. Let's just see where they take it. I'll be watching the time periods closely today. Over here, and we'll come back over here. See what this has to offer. Tick is still totally neutral. There's no one has a particular commitment one way or the other. Right? Compare it to yesterday. Right? Nothing. Is ECB done? Are we done, guys? Hey, Alex. Good morning. Are we done on ECB, guys? Is that said and done? I know it started at 7:30. Oh, I forgot to get one thing up. Just coming for a test of Wednesday's low. I have roughly 2670.75 as resistance, which we tagged right out of the gate, actually. And that's still valid resistance. Again, if someone took that trade, right, which I did not, but again, you had very low, I just want to point out where the low risk opportunities are showing. When you're having neutral internals, right, it's really hard to generate a breakout. It's also really hard to generate a breakdown, is the flip side of that, which is why we're having open. So for me, the intelligence part of it is that helps me is knowing that this is the most likely outcome, right, which is whipsaw. Unless you're just trading for 2 points here and 2 points there on NQ, or you're trading for 1 point or 2 points on ES, and that's your whole target, like your 2 ticks and you're done, that's what keeps you out of being just brutalized. That's a good word. Brutalized when things aren't working, right? That's what keeps you from being brutalized when things aren't working. You're like, well, why is it doing this? Well, it's doing this because there's no buy interest or sell interest. Everyone's just kind of looking at each other going, well, we'll just wait till someone else makes the move. That's where the value comes. That's where the value comes in the trade. So right now I would have somewhere between 2670 and 2672 is resistance, generally speaking, on ES, and you'd be playing that against the high of the day. And you'd want it quickly to fall below 2670 to roll. I think it's impossible to trade. I mean, here's the problem is you can successfully trade this, Daniel, right? But what it does is it shifts you into the mindset of grabbing 2 points instead of looking for your 30-point trade, right? I'd rather have 1, 10, 20, 30-point trade than 5 2-point trades. It makes your mind, theoretically, on paper, most of us go, hey, I can trade either way, right? I can look at this and I can trade this easily one way or the other, right? But the reality is that if you start trading for 2 points, your brain tends to most people's brain gets locked in on one particular trading method or the other. Hold on 1 second. I need to get my P&L bar up. Okay. They start trading for everything. Your brain just wants repetition in its process, right? So if you train your brain to look for 2-point trades, you're going to find 2-point trades. Meaning on NQ, you're like a 2-point, 4-point scalper. If you train your brain to look for 20 and 30-point opportunities, right? Which means what are the qualities that you need on those? You need a stretch, right? Or you need a gap out of range to know that you're going to push, right? So think about everyone who bought up here this morning on the gap going, oh, wow, we have gap, open drive higher. I'm going to buy the gap, right? These guys all get smoked. All the guys that bought at the high, Globex high, right? They all get smoked out at the beginning. Now we smoke to the downside. There's no sell pressure. Let's push them right back up to the high, right? And then people start – that's the traders I hear from that are like, well, I'm pulling my hair out, right? I'm pulling my hair out because I can't figure out what the hell's going on. Well, I'll tell you what the hell's going on. Nothing's going on, and you're trying to make sense out of non-committed traders. You're trying to get them to participate with you, right? These two markets aren't matching up. You're trying to get them to participate for you, and and then what I see them do is constantly get torn between making 2 points and making 20 and 30 points. Thanks, Ralph. 2667.50 is last session's mid on ES. Thank you, Ralph. So when you put all those pieces together, right, really what you're waiting for and looking for is where do I have my opportunity? So first you got to figure out, am I scalping or am I swinging it intraday, right? Number one. Number two, where does that opportunity come from? And number three, what does it look like, right? So there's a couple things that argue okay for the short side. ES and NQ are both below VWAP. There's no tick participation to the downside. There's no heaviness in the broader market. That's this indicator right here, right? You can just look at it. There's just no one committed to selling or buying. It's just neutral. Neutral market at the top tends to argue for trapping shorts and grinding them up, right? Because everyone will go, well, it didn't run, it must be going down. And they just grind through it or balance all the way through there, and they just wear traders out, right? And so the conditions that we look for when we're going to have a roll down and we get opportunity, first of all, we'd like the tick, right, like yesterday afternoon, to be relatively swinging one way or the other, right? This is not swinging at all. Market internals, 1381 advancers. We know that the market tends to advance the best when advancers are above 1500 on the NYSE. We don't have that situation, right? So this is when I'm coaching guys where I see them have the problem. They get into a mindset of I've got to find a trade, and they try to make this work for them. And sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they get it wrong, right? But what they do is they build up an enormous amount of stress. And the more stress you go through, the more you want from the market, the higher your stress levels tend to go, and then the less effective you are in your decision making. And then I see them agonize over, well, I took 2 points and it was worth 30, or I took 2 and it was worth 4 on ES, or I had the low and I closed it out for 1 point because I saw the ghost of trading past and I blew out of the position and I should have known, right? Well, the way you know is you got to make, most of us, not all of us, there's some that can switch effortlessly, right? But most of us just have to make a decision as to what we're looking for and then be willing to wait for the market. And that's why you see all these guys, from Joseph St. Burns, who's primarily a swing trader, and you see all these hedge fund managers, and they all have the same thing to say, right? So notice we're still accumulating underneath value area low, right, on ES. But they all have the same thing to say. When you watch what they talk about, they all have the same thing to say, which is, if you cannot be patient and wait for your setup, right, you'll never make money. So when you combine that with the fact that majority of people lose money day trading, right? It's the hardest level to work at, right? You really want to push yourself to go, well, where am I at a master's level at entering or exiting positions and reading the larger picture? Because you have to have home runs to make money. You have to. Somewhere in there, you've got to grab that little pony by the tail and go, I got you, and I ain't letting go of you, right? Because that's how you make your jumps in your P&L, whether you do it through options or you do it through stocks or you do it through indexes, futures, however you do it. Yeah, I had a feeling that we would balance. Like I said, quad witching, up until quad witching, usually suppresses volatility. And you can see they've done a fantastico job, and that is horrible, right? That is just terrible, terrible, terrible. Pushing into VWAP on ES, pushing into the upper end range on NQ. We have Econ in under a minute. The dome is relatively thin, but I think it's probably just market makers stepping away until the news is out. And that would do it right there. So now we find out. Again, if you're uber aggressive and for some reason bearish on NQ, your stop is against the high. I don't have anything there to make me want to do anything one way or the other. That was resistance on NQ, that 64.27. Again, it was pretty weak considering we're open auction and there's just no commitment from traders one way or the other. So I'm not interested in scalping I'm not interested in getting caught and chop early in the day, or actually at any point. Anyways, guys, on YouTube, thank y'all for joining me this morning. I was hoping to set up at least one trade, but there's nothing here to set up. So if you'd like to visit us in the room, tradeandperform@gmail.com. If you liked the broadcast, please, please, please hit the like button. It really helps me out. It only takes a second to tag it. Helps me out with YouTube tremendously. And if you have any questions or comments, or you liked it and you can throw out some Twitter love or StockTwits love, really appreciate that as well. Or on YouTube, either way. Thank y'all for joining. Remember, don't draw down. Don't lose all your money trading. It's a hard game if you don't have a trade plan. Follow your trade plan. If you make a trade plan, actually commit to trading it. And if you're losing money, stop and paper trade till you figure out what the hell you're doing. Too hard a game to keep giving your money away, right? And too much potential reward as well. There's huge rewards on this for guys who get it right. I see them, I coach them, they make a lot of money. But the guys who don't make money are consistently the ones who are flipping trade plans constantly, right? And they have no risk management whatsoever. So anyways, have a great day. Thank y'all for joining. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's quad witching, right? So they're probably going to lock this thing down into quad, which looks like exactly what they're doing. Usually the first half hour is the most volatile of the day in terms of rotations, and we got nothing here. So anyways, talk to y'all later. Have a great day. Thank y'all for joining.